there was new video released yesterday showing Nick Reiner calmly strolling near his parents' home hours before the murders. This was obtained by the New York Post. Let's take a look at it. It's video 1. It's just a sidewalk. This is just him walking. For the listening audience, he has a bag over his left shoulder. He's walking calmly. Doesn't look irate. Doesn't look out of his mind. Looks kind of normal. He's walking past a gas station with a hat. He has not yet murdered anybody, allegedly, and looks within his wits for what it's worth. Then we have video of him purchasing a drink at a gas station moments before he was arrested. This is an ABC News video. Here he is. Once again, he's got a bag over his left shoulder, it appears, and he's kind of meandering around a convenience store, and again, does not look out of his mind, deranged in any way, disturbed. And this is after, again, the murder. One more video I want to show you. This is of him surrendering on an LA street as the cops corner him. This is a little harder to see, but you can see a bit. Hold on. Where did we get this? Oh, this is from the New York Post. Okay. The law enforcement has since said he went into custody willingly. He didn't resist arrest. Hold on a sec. You can see the cops. You can't really see the defendant at this point. He's behind the car, but you can see the cops are not in like a terror stance that we sometimes see when somebody resists or pulls a gun or a knife on them. They actually look pretty calm. They far outnumber the one guy, but he was brought into custody without incident, according to all reports. And I mention all that and show all that because it is evidence, Matt, and it could become relevant as more and more people question whether this gunslinging lawyer who just got hired to represent Nick Reiner, who's been very successful, at least in the Karen Reed case, in getting an acquittal, is going to argue that he's not guilty by reason of mental defect, that he was out of his mind on drugs or had a lifelong struggle with mental illness that manifested the night that he took his parents' lives, allegedly.
Right. So I've known Alan Jackson for years. He was an LADA for a long time when I was working homicide in Orange County, and he is an immensely talented lawyer, and he's actually a good guy. But you're absolutely right. He's going to have a hard time with those videos. California uses what's known as the McNaughton rule. I think New York is pretty similar, Arthur, if I'm not mistaken. And essentially, it's a 150-year-old rule, Megyn, that provides that if you understand the nature and quality of your acts, you are responsible for them, even if you're suffering from mental illness or if you're suffering from intoxication. So what a jury essentially has to find, and the burden is on the defense to establish that by preponderance of the evidence. So what that means is if you've got somebody that's howling at the moon and they don't know what they're doing, that's a case that you might have a shot at insanity. Otherwise, even if they're drunk, even if they're high, even if they are suffering from mental illness, if they understand the nature and quality of their actions, in other words, they understand that they're killing human beings and not stabbing bananas or aliens or whatever crazy delusion they're suffering from, they are legally responsible in the state of California. And as crazy as California is, and it feels like it gets a little crazier every day, sort of pro-defendant, that is a law that they haven't touched yet, and that is the current state of the law. And those videos
is sanity
are bad
a jury question?
I'm sorry. Yes.
Is sanity a jury question?
Yeah. So California uses what's known as a bifurcated system, Megyn, where first you have a guilt phase, and then you have a sanity phase. It's like a death penalty case where you have a guilt phase and then a penalty phase. One of my last murders before I left the DA's office was a case that was freakishly close, facts-wise. It was my Nicholson case out of Newport Beach, where a young, very entitled, very wealthy young man who was suffering from pretty well-documented organic mental illness, mixed with addiction, got into it with his parents, and he went and he stabbed his mother and father to death in the house, and he also waited for the housekeeper. That case just went to trial on October 31st this year, and a friend of mine, I handed the baton to when I walked out of the office, my friend Dave Porter, and that guy had documented organic mental illness in addition to it, But the bar is really high on insanity, and that jury found him legally sane, and his sentencing is coming up actually at the end of this week. So a jury, despite really well-documented actual mental illness mixed with addiction, found that under the McNaughton rule, that guy was responsible. And I'll tell you another thing. What that young woman, Romy, saw when she discovered her parents, and Art has seen these too. Stabbing murders are the worst because it's not like TV, Megyn, where somebody gets stabbed once with a knife and they fall down dead. That's what you see in the movies. In reality, they die from what's called exsanguination. That means they bleed to death, and that takes minutes, which means they are fighting, they're running around. And the rumor is, this is from multiple sources. I don't know if this is true, and we don't know the evidence yet. And of course, he's presumed innocent. But rumor is that he cut both of their throats. And when you present one of those as a prosecutor...
Well, they said while in bed. But there's a report today saying that they were found in bed.
Right, but if you go back later and you cut their throats or you slash their wrists, and I've prosecuted those too in stabbing cases, juries do not like that. It shows a calculated, cold-blooded, premeditated nature. Even if the initial contact or the initial fight is spontaneous and hot-blooded, when the killer goes back and cuts throats, that is such just a decidedly vicious move look, and I heard you say it yesterday on one of the commentaries. Karen Reed was one thing, but my friend Alan Jackson has his work cut out for this one. And another thing is behind the scenes, I got a bunch of friends in the LADA's office, and they're all telling me that the team that Nathan Hochman put together on this is top notch. So that's going to be interesting to watch. It's going to go to trial. There's no deal that they're going to be able to make. I don't think Hochman's going to seek the death penalty on this. Just because it's inter-family, and we in California, you seek the death penalty. There's a moratorium on it, but we sought it. I was on our committee for 15 years. We sought it in less than 4% of the cases that qualified. So those are the special circumstance murders, which are a small fraction of all the murders. And so I don't think
which they are saying this is though. They are calling this special circumstance.
Yes.
Now,
yeah. It's definitely special circ.
It was.
Multiple murder.
They say it is, but I agree that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to seek the death penalty. They've charged him with. Oh, hold on a second. That's a different case. But in any event, yes, they have alleged special circumstances against Nick Reiner. I always presume people know the cases that we've been covering nonstop, but I hate when people do that. We are discussing the murder of famed director Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle Reiner, killed in their home, allegedly by their own 32-year-old son, Nick Reiner, who had a lifetime of drug addiction problems and reportedly mental health problems as well. Getting some more details on that. Here's the charges. 2 counts of first-degree murder with a special circumstance of multiple murders. Also faces a special allegation that he personally used a dangerous and deadly weapon, that being a knife. These charges carry a maximum sentence of life in prison and the possibility, or without the possibility of parole, and also potentially the death penalty. They'll make the decision on the death penalty later. But now we're getting a few more details. The Daily Mail, Arthur, reporting they were found in bed with their throats cut and may have been asleep when they were murdered, a source close to the investigation tells the Daily Mail. I mean, that would only amplify Matt's point if he, in other words, left them no chance whatsoever, just like sneaked up on them, took their lives while they were asleep. I'm not sure a jury's going to feel too fondly about that either. They died, we believe, sometime overnight Saturday night. Their bodies were found 3:30 p.m. on Sunday when their daughter Romy found them and called 911. The report yesterday that we aired from Billy Bush has been contradicted, that Romy did not find her mother alive and that there was no last-minute statement that it was the son. That was his reporting. Now several reports contradicting that, saying that there's no support for that whatsoever. Nick, one of the Reiner's 3 children, had been living in the mansion's guest house. He would, quote, according to a friend, do meth and not sleep for days and then have outbursts, breaking things, punching walls. He was, quote, a ticking time bomb. His drug use was getting worse. His parents wanted him out, claimed the friend. According to TMZ, after leaving the Conan O'Brien Christmas party on Saturday night, where Rob and Michelle had been invited, and it looks like they graciously brought their kid along who lived at their guest house, Nick. By the way, we were told that it was some sort of formal dress. I've even heard in one report that people were wearing formal wear, except Nick was not. He showed up, rude, behaving inappropriately. A witness told TMZ he appeared, quote, tweaked out. And that they said that he stormed off, the New York Post reports, after getting into a tiff with comedian Bill Hader, that Hader, that Nick interrupted Bill Hader at the bash, an eyewitness told NBC. When Hader told Nick that he was in the middle of a private conversation, the source said Nick just stood there and stared before storming off. And one final piece here that may be relevant. Well, this is definitely relevant, but this isn't the piece I meant. They said that in the hotel room he rented after the murders, his shower was later found full of blood with bloodstains on the bed and bed sheets covering the windows. That's incriminating. And finally, this. Daily Mail reports from someone who says he knows the family and Nick well, that this person had just spoken with the other brother, Jake, within the past 24 hours since the murders, so it does appear to be close to them, saying Nick was a deeply troubled child who needed physical restraint for his rages from a very young age, that his issues began well before his teenage years, and thus we presume well before his drug use, that Jake, the other brother, is, quote, beyond himself with grief. Nick's uncontrollable anger was not new, said the friend. Quoting here, a lot of their fights had to do with him just doing something self-destructive and fighting back when they tried to help him. It did get physical sometimes, not talking punches, but restraining him. I was over there, must have been early 2000s. He was about 11. He was throwing the biggest tantrum, and Rob Reiner just had him in a bear hug to restrain him. The tantrum was over nothing, but he had so much anger in his eyes. It was terrifying, really. And this happened, a lot. He never outgrew it. He had tantrums well into his 20s. This, I don't like the term bad seed, Arthur, but it brings up the nature versus nurture thing. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's
in the single digits, you're behaving like this.
From all the reports, it seems like Rob and Michele did everything humanly possible to try to help their kid. Our mutual friend Geraldo, he always says, you're only as happy as your unhappiest child. And now being the father of three, I get it. Ariana woke me up the 2 mornings ago at 5 a.m. telling me, Daddy, I love you. Now I have to throw up. And it broke my heart. Girl, she's like, Daddy, hold my hair.
So you got her a pony. You got her another pony.
I go to the farm. What's the matter with you? But I mean, it seems like they've done Rob Reiner made a film with his son to try to pull him out of this. And I know sounds weird, but I didn't know the reporting you just said about the beds and getting this cut, their throats cut in their bed. Like, I hope they didn't know what happened. I was imagining like some kind of real fight scene where Rob Reiner is trying to protect his wife and something much more, hand-to-hand combat.
That could still manifest. But, we don't know. These early reports are often wrong,
yeah.
i.e. the Billy Bush thing yesterday, with all due respect to my friend Billy.
Yeah, I get it. And that's why I always tell people go slow on these. Actually, the Megyn Kelly line that told me years ago on Kelly's Court, off air before we went on, she goes, Arthur, this is initial reporting. Don't get over your skis. I'm like, I don't know what that means. I don't ski, but okay, I think I figured it out. Folks should know, just going back to the insanity defense, how rarely it's used, how rarely it's successful. And I had a young woman who her dad died in the course of a fight, and she dismembered his private part because he had been raping her. And I was going to use the insanity defense until I found out, at least in New York, you are incarcerated for a longer period of time if you are found not guilty by reason of insanity, basically, than if you're found guilty of murder and you get 25 to life. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense. But Megyn, I had a case. Now, thank God mom and dad didn't die, but it was a young man around the same age. Maybe he was a little younger. He was in his mid-20s, and they prohibited him from seeing his girlfriend. It was the family was Asian, and she was, I believe, Caucasian, and they were very strict. And they said, no, you can't date her anymore. The kid came home while the parents were in bed. That's what's bugging me out a little bit here, hearing this. And he took one of those like barbecue forks, it just has 2 prongs on it. Yeah. And he went to town on his parents. God. Now, thank God they lived, but here's the punchline. They didn't want him prosecuted. Now, he was prosecuted. I was able to get him this was a while ago, but it was in the teens of years. But they were very uncooperative, and there was a prosecutor he's sitting there with the parents who were the victims, begging not to prosecute him at all, and he wants to give him 25 to life. And so, he couldn't give him 25 to life, but he could have given him 25 on the straight up assault one. And so they kind of split the difference and gave the kid, like, I don't know if it was 12 or 14 years in prison. So, the question people ask is like, what does Nick brother and sister, want to see happen here? Who hired this fantastic, expensive, presumably lawyer?
Yeah.
And
who's paying for him?
Yeah. But Meg, if you look at the online version this morning of the Wall Street Journal, there is a family photo of Rob, Michele, and their children, and everyone's smiling except Nick. Nick looks scary in this particular
in all the
photos.
Pictures.
Yeah, it's a little. This case, Meg.
You can see it. You can see the deep unhappiness, depression, and possible mental defect. There are a lot of politicians that should be getting coal in their stocking for Christmas, but Birch Gold thinks, as a smart planner, you deserve silver. That's why for every $5,000 you purchase between now and December 22nd, Birch Gold will send you an ounce of silver, which is up over 60% this year. See, smart people diversify and have a hedge. That's why you should consider Birch Gold. With the rate cuts from the Fed in 2026, the dollar could be worth less. And what happens if the AI bubble bursts? Consider letting Birch Gold Group help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. And for every $5,000 you buy, you will get an ounce of silver for you or your kids. Just text MK to the number 989898 to claim your eligibility for this offer. Again, text MK to 989898 because Birch Gold's free silver with qualifying purchase promotion ends on December 22nd. Message and data rates may apply. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.